Okay, welcome to this episode of the Daily Podcast. I'm really excited to have the 8 Sleep founder and CEO, Matteo Franceschetti. Now, did I pronounce that right?
That was perfect. You speak like an Italian. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. And I'm really excited to have you here today. I'm an investor in the company. I sleep on your mattress every night. Big believer in it. It definitely helps me recover as sleep's so important. Can you tell me a bit about the background of 8 Sleep and how it came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are the first sleep fitness company. Our mission is to leverage technology to improve your sleep performance. That's why you supported us in our mission and why you're sleeping on the 8 Sleep pod. Everything started because on one side, I have always been an athlete. When I was a teenager, I was a tennis player. And then later in life, I was an entrepreneur, and I started wondering why Elon Musk is taking us to Mars, and we still spend a third of our life on a piece of dumb foam without any piece of technology enhancing our sleep. And so I thought with my co-founders to build it.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. And can you tell me what the Smart Mattress does? And what makes it so different than just a regular mattress that doesn't do anything?
Absolutely. There are two core things that we do. The first one is we thermoregulate each side of the bed at a different temperature during the night. So each side of the bed can range between 55 and 100 degrees based on your preferences, but we also use machine learning and technology to adjust the temperature during the night to help you fall asleep faster, get more deep sleep, and also wake up more refreshed. And the way we do it is based on the second pillar, that is the mattress is embedded with sensors. And so we are able to track everything about your heart rate, your respiration, and your sleep. Based on these biometrics, we can adjust temperature to really maximize and improve your sleep performance. So one of the things we are seeing with our product is you can get somewhere between 15 and 30% more restful sleep, because we can reduce number of tosses and turns or wake ups or help you get more REM and deep sleep.
I mean, that's a pretty big improvement for something that you're spending, you should be spending a third of your life doing. And I know, for me as an athlete, sleep is one of the most important things that I look to for my recovery, especially traveling on the road, getting in at, 2, 3 in the morning and then having to play the next day. It's tough to stay in a routine. But like my routine when I go on the road is make sure, the curtains are pulled together. I've got the air conditioner down, nice and low. All the lights are covered up. I've got the do not disturb sign on. That's a tough one if you get a knock early in the morning. And it's like a big advantage, I think, being able to have that routine even on the road and try to make it as normal as possible for your home. What are some of the things that you've developed from when you first started the company to now? Because I've been using the Pod Pro and I love that. I like the vibration alarm clock in the morning. What did you start with and what are the features that you have now?
Yeah, so when we started 5 years ago, we just had the metrics. So we were just able to track your biometrics. And that required time because you need to collect data to become more accurate. And we started running clinical studies with different health institutions or universities to really collect more truth data to become more accurate. Then a year and a half ago, we launched the pod, which is the current technology and our hero product, which can heat and cool. And this is the real game changer because temperature is one of the biggest factors impacting the quality of your sleep outside sleep medical disorders. 6 months ago, we launched the Pod Pro, which is substantially the Pod 2.0. And the Pod Pro includes all the learnings from the first version of the pod. It can heat and cool each side of the bed, has a new sensor package that is much more advanced, which we develop in-house with our own engineers. It has vibration, so we can wake you up through temperature and vibration naturally in the morning without any sound. And the reason is a lot of our customers didn't like to wake up with the sound. It's too traumatic, and sometimes it goes off while you are in the middle of a dream or while you are in deep sleep. And so naturally through temperature and vibration, we take you out of deep and REM, and you get into light sleep, and then you wake up. And then we develop machine learning. It's much more advanced, and so we offer more settings in terms of different temperatures during the night to maximize your sleep quality.
I think that's one of the things that really kind of surprises me is being able to have a mattress that even when you're sleeping is either getting cooler throughout the night, or you can wake up warmer if you want to, or what do you like your sleep setting at, or what have you found works best for people?
Yeah, so one important thing that not everyone knows is our body temperature changes during the night. That's why it's really important that the surface you sleep on adjusts based on that. And the reason is you have what is called a circadian rhythm. And so your body temperature changes during the whole day. And that obviously includes the night. And so usually it's really personal. So a lot of our customers, they like to get into a bed that is really cold. Some others, a bed that is slightly warmer. And then usually the best it would be to keep cooling down the bed and yourself as you fall asleep. And so to be in a very cold environment while you are in deep sleep. And then in the morning, sometimes probably you have experience around 4 or 5 a.m. start feeling cold, even with a dumb bed. The reason is your body temperature starts rising, and that is a couple of hours before you wake up. So essentially your body is getting ready to wake up 2 hours later. Through temperature and your biometrics, we see that. And so we just help your body to change temperature faster. So we just enhance a natural behavior of your body. And in that way, you can get more restful sleep and wake up or fall asleep faster.
It's really interesting. With a lot of the data, you have a lot of people on these mattresses now. I think I saw a tweet earlier this week or last week that said in California, because there's been a bit of a heat wave, people are setting that initial temperature a lot lower. And also with the power outages and not having AC. Can you talk a little bit about that and other interesting trends you see from summer to winter?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there are a lot of different reasons why you need to be able to set a different temperature in your bed. First, because of your circadian rhythm, and we spoke about that. Second, is very personal based on age, gender, amount of body fat, all these factors impact. Second, obviously the temperature in the bedroom. Keep in mind that around 50% of the couples, they fight around temperature because they have different preferences. So we are also solving that problem where you and your partner can have a different setting. And then there is seasonality, as you were saying. So last week, there was a heat wave in San Francisco, and we saw that the average customer was sleeping at -3, which is, you can cool from 0 to -10, so call it -30%. And in California, instead, the average customer was a -80%. And the reason is a lot of people in California, they don't have AC, so they cannot adjust the bedroom temperature. And so what they do is they adjust the bed temperature to still be able to sleep and get a good night of sleep.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting that you can see different trends like that. I know I like my side of the bed really, really cold, and my wife likes hers cool, but not cold as me. So it's good that we don't have to agree on the temperature. We can just do our own thing. Now, the founding team of 8 Sleep, you and Alex are husband and wife. Can you talk a little bit about the advantages of having that, I guess, trust and relationship in building a startup?
Yeah, I mean, personally, we love it. It's not easy. For us, it is probably because of the character and how we build the relationship. So there are a couple of fun stories. So the first one is, so for the company, we use Slack to chat with each other. But personally, we use text or WhatsApp. And so sometimes it might happen that I'm slacking to her and maybe I'm complaining about something for work because we need to adjust or something is not where it should be or we need to move faster. And at the same time, in the private, WhatsApp or text, I'm just asking, okay, what are we gonna have for dinner? At the same time, sometimes we decided to, after dinner, we don't want to talk about work because otherwise you would just keep going. But I'm still allowed to Slack her. And so sometimes we are on the couch reading, I start coming up with ideas and I start slacking her and she's sitting right next to me and I can hear her phone vibrating. but the point would be is we need to treat each other like coworkers. And so at 10 p.m. it's unlikely you would be with a coworker. So if you have an idea, just Slack the coworker and the coworker can or cannot answer. And that is what happens.
Yeah.
And then we have our one-on-one morning. So I have one-on-ones with all the executives, and she's an executive for now. She's the VP of branding, but hers is on Saturday, and so we go out for breakfast, and then we spend 2 hours brainstorming and talking about.
Yeah, that's cool that you guys have some systems in place to, I guess, keep those boundaries and have the work communication and the personal communication. Can you tell me a bit more about you said you were, a tennis athlete previously, like what kind of training are you doing now?
Yeah, so I'm really into heat. So I really care about spiking my heart rate as high as possible. Because based on a lot of different clinical studies, it seems to be one of the best things that you can do. Because I used to be a tennis player, I still play tennis when I can. What I like of tennis is very similar to a heat training because you can really spike your heart rate while you're playing, and then you rest, and so the heart rate drops, and then you restart. And so I have seen through my data and my Apple Watch that is very comparable, and I can do a very high intensity 1 hour because I play reasonably well. All the times I travel always with my elastic bands and also with a travel mat. Here on my desk, I always have a dumbbell. So if you ask all my employees, all our team members, they always see me playing with this during the calls and doing something. So I just keep training and exercising. So yeah, I just try to stay in shape.
Yeah, you put me to shame. I need to find a dumbbell here so I can get some calls in while we're recording this. One of the interesting things I saw you tweeting about probably a few months ago now was Levels, which is a constant glucose monitor that you're an investor in. I am as well. What other things are you seeing, I guess, health and fitness wise? Obviously you're very focused on the sleep, but there seems like there's a big trend towards tracking a lot of new data that wasn't able to be tracked before. Can you talk about what you're seeing there, and how is that between founders of different health and fitness companies? Are you guys doing a lot of collaboration? Is there competition? How do you view that as well?
Yeah, I'm really into health and wellness. I really love it. So obviously it's part of my job, but more than anything, it's all that I read about. I'm a big believer in Levels. I use it all the times because it helps me personalize my diet. So I learn a lot of things about how fasting works, because I usually fast, what kind of food works better or worse for me. So for example, I don't know, watermelon is comparable to a pizza for my glucose levels.
Wow.
Or if I eat just a package of raspberries, it's still comparable to a pizza. And because I was on a keto, I used to eat a lot of berries. Now I try not to pay much more attention.
Yeah.
Then I'm pretty obsessed with heart rate, HRV, and heart rate recovery.
Yeah.
So I monitor my HRV continuously. One interesting thing I did is since March, I started sleeping 9 hours per day, every day.
Yeah.
And all my biometrics started improving. So my HRV went up, which is positive, right? Because it means you're more rested.
Yeah.
And my heart rate at rest went down, which is, it's an indication of a healthier body.
Yeah.
There is another startup that I use. I don't know them well. It's called Let's Get Checked. So essentially, they send you these kits for a blood test at home. And I started doing a lot of blood tests, new ones, and also on a recurring basis. And so you can check things like liver, hormones, vitamins, and cortisol levels, and your prostate, and all these kind of things that usually will be really hard to track.
Yeah.
And you can be very granular because they send you all the data for each different, sub information. And so that helped me readjust my diet as well.
Really? And so you're using that kind of and comparing it to the levels data and going back and seeing what you ate on certain days?
Exactly. So for example, what I noticed there is there were very few, let's say I did really 15, 20 tests, and there are like 10 to 15 value per test. So I had like 1,000 or hundreds of values, and I found a couple that were off. And when I started looking at the reasons and doing some research, I understood that they were probably correlated to my keto diet.
Really?
And so there is where I started adjusting the diet, and then now on a regular basis, every other month, I just redo the test and I see how they're trending.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. And just going back to when you said I switched at the start of March to sleeping 9 hours a day. Previously, were you sleeping 8 hours a day or on average?
Yeah, I was always sleeping 8, but then I became really intentional. I said, you know what, now I don't have to commute anymore. I have more time. And so I will use part of that time to just sleep more. And now I sleep 9 hours every single day. And I got to a point in February where I was really tired. Now I was working a lot. At the time I was still flying a lot, all the thing. And so sometimes during the day, I was feeling this need to nap. And so I started sleeping 9 hours. At the beginning, I was also napping a little bit. I usually do a coffee nap or a power nap for 20 minutes. I drink coffee before napping. So by the time the coffee kicks in is when you wake up.
Yeah.
And
so
20 minutes.
It's about a 20, 30-minute nap then?
It's really 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I drink an espresso. I go and I take my nap. And the 20 minutes is perfect because it's the right amount of time where you can reduce the adenosine in your brain without falling into deeper REM. Because if you fall into any of those cycles, then you will start feeling groggy.
Yeah. And then so you can either sleep, from what I've learned is you can have a 20-minute nap, or you're better off having a 90 to 2 hour, 90 minutes to 2 hour nap. Is that correct?
And now what happened after 4 or 5 months, I don't feel the need of a nap anymore. So I really recover. I really feel I have energy all day long. And so I reduce the amount of naps and I keep sleeping 9 hours a day.
Really? Okay. Is there, can you just give me, I guess, a few tips for people that are listening? What are 3 things, people can do, even if they don't have the 8 sleep mattress, to improve their sleep habits?
Yep. So if you talk to any sleep doctor for what is called CBTI, right, is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, number one thing they would tell you is you need to be consistent. right? Go to sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time. Do it also during the weekends. Don't change, because your body doesn't know that it's weekend or not, right? It just gets confused. It's like if you were in different time zones. If during the day, I mean, during the week, you wake up at 7 a.m., but then during the weekend, you wake up at 10 a.m. So try to be consistent. At that point, what happens is you're training your body to wake up at the same time. And so you will wake up naturally. It's just a matter of consistency. That is one. Two, the temperature in the bedroom is key. So obviously, if you have the pod, you can set the temperature perfect for you, but at least try to sleep in a cold environment. You need to pay attention to fall asleep, because if it's too cold, your extremities get cold, and then your heart rate accelerates to pump the blood to the extremities and warm them up. Mm-hmm. So it cannot be too cold at the beginning, but as soon as you fall asleep, the colder, the better.
Okay.
And the other thing is when you eat. So I usually try to eat 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. And the reason is you want to leave some space. Otherwise, you're in the middle of the digestion, and that could have an impact to fall asleep, and more than anything on the length of your deep and REM and of your sleep stages.
Okay, interesting. Okay. No, I think that will be very helpful for people. Are you able to share a couple of stories, I guess success stories of people that have got the pod and it's really positively affected other parts of their life?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have so many people reporting interesting stories. Obviously, it can go from the couple, and now they don't have to fight anymore, to athletes that they have found better recovery with cooling, right? So they feel they are recovering much faster with their body during the night. We have seen other people that were just not able to sleep anymore because now they tend to sweat or they feel hot. And so we solved that problem. We have seen women in menopause with hot flashes using the pod and finally being able to sleep a normal life. We have also seen cases where we were able to see the data of a couple of panic attacks in the middle of the night for a couple of people. Wow. And what was valuable was then for them to go back to the doctor and say, it happened at this time, and this is what happened to my heart rate, and this is what happened to my respiration. So we don't diagnose a panic attack, but they had data, their biometrics, not the data of their biometrics, that they could show to their doctor. And they also had the exact time at which it happened. And to the same person, it happened a couple of times. And so having this data was able to kind of define a pattern.
Yeah. Wow. That's really, really useful stuff. Who are some of the athletes that are using 8 Sleep now? I know, I think you were trying to get some sent into the NBA bubble. Did that end up happening?
Yeah, I think there are 14 NBA players in the bubble that they're sleeping on our technology. Obviously, one ambassador is also Danny Green, is a brand ambassador for us. One of our investors is the owner of the Sacramento Kings. And then obviously we have you, and then we have NFL players, we have runners. We are seeing a very good traction also with athletes in endurance sports like triathlon or Ironman. And the reason is always about recovery. So being able to sleeping in a thermoregulated environment first maximizes the sleep quality, but at the same time also helps your muscles to recover faster.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. What about like other startup founders? Like you said, when you were, running a startup, you had to, find more ways to help recover and take care of your body and take care of your mind. Are there some founders or people working at startups sleeping?
We are seeing an awesome traction in Silicon Valley and in general with technology funders and investors.
Mm.
There is, I would say, a very large number of people in Silicon Valley or in technology sleeping on our products.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best compliments we ever received was when multiple people compare us to the Tesla of sleep, because that is really our dream, right? To disrupt a huge market. For Tesla was automotive, and for us is sleep, and leverage a new technology to really change. For them, the enemy was a non-electric car. For us, the enemy is the dumb mattress, right? What I can't stand is that you spend a third of your life on a piece of dumb foam. But you're driving maybe a Tesla, right? So it does not make sense. And we hope in the future to be the company that will become the Tesla of sleep. That would be our dream.
Yeah. Well, it definitely seems like you're well on the way to doing that. What are some future plans and for the product? Like, what are you looking to add? What would make the biggest difference?
Yeah, so we're working on a lot of different products with our teams, right? We have in hardware engineering, we have machine learning, we have software, we have digital. Obviously, the pod will keep becoming better, and that will happen in two ways. One, through software upgrades. It's the only bed in the world that becomes better and better just through software. And so you don't do anything. You wake up, and when you go to bed tonight, your bed has more features, exactly like a Tesla. And then obviously we are also working on hardware. So we are making all the thermoregulation better, faster, and maybe more granular on different areas. Our sensor package is improving. The idea is in the future to become medical grade accurate. We are already very close in some metrics to, if you compare us to a medical grade EKG. Obviously, again, we don't diagnose anything, but in the future, if you fast forward 8 sleep in 10 years from now, there are two things we would like to achieve. First, what if you could sleep only 6 hours and get more rest than when you were sleeping 8 hours? So can we improve your sleep efficiency by 25%? That is one goal. The second is, because you still go to bed for 6 hours or 8 hours, whatever, how can we make sure that going to bed is better than going to your doctor? How can we make sure that while you're asleep, we can track everything about your core biometrics and let you know if there is anything off in your health?
Wow. I think that's going to be helpful for a lot of people. Have you had any sports teams like reach out to do any kind of studies? I know it would probably be tough because you'd need the players' consent on things like that, but to have that continuous monitoring over a season would be some really interesting data.
Yeah, so we are talking to a bunch of different teams. As you know, individual athletes are already using the product. There is this word of mouth that is really happening right now. And so we see a lot of inbound, which is obviously super valuable and exciting for us. And so there are athletes, celebrities, or really rich people that they say, oh, I heard that your product is best in class for these from a friend. Is there a way where I can get one? And that is how a lot of our deals are now starting.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I think, I mean, I've had 7 years in the NBA, and I think maybe 2 or 3 of those years we've had like a sleep doctor or a sleep coach come in and give a talk to the team at the start of the year, which was really interesting. But it's kind of like one time and then that's it. And I think it's a huge area that could become a competitive advantage for a team or players individually if they really focus on that, because you're going to recover better, physically game to game, but also that mental aspect. I think I've read somewhere where if you have less than 4 hours of sleep or less than 5 hours of sleep a few nights in a row, your performance is like you're legally drunk. Is that something you've read?
Yeah. There is a threshold, and below the threshold, your ability to drive is comparable to the one of a person who is qualified as drunk based on law. Um, I mean, if you think as an athlete, couple of things. The first one is, so for example, we monitor HRV, heart rate variability, and we are able to see how your heart rate variability changes from when you got into bed to when you wake up. So you're able to really quantify now how much you recovered, and based on where your HRV is, you could adjust your training, the intensity of your training. That is number one. Second, there are lot of evidence that by sleeping more, you could help your body to reduce the risk of injuries, right? Because you give more time to your body to really recover, in particular on the deep sleep side that is more for the body itself. And second, by keeping the levels of adenosine in your brain lower, because you sleep more, you have more energy and you have more focus, which is part of what you need to perform at your best.
Yeah, I mean, especially for that decision making, because you wouldn't be going out to play a game and be able to make good decisions, in the pick and roll, if I was drunk, but coming off a back to back, you might have 4 or 5 hours of sleep sometimes. So I think that's, really an area that's going to be interesting the next 5 years as more people get to know the type of technology that's out there. One of the
Even
oh, you
one
go.
quick thing is even thinking about napping before a match,
Yeah,
X hours before. I mean, the when to be discussed, but that could probably help a lot. Sometimes I think of sleep, in particular napping, as a sort of meditation, right? A lot of people meditate. I'm not great at meditating, at least yet. While instead I think of napping as a sort of advanced meditation, right? A sort of meditation 2.0,
yeah,
because you still give time to your brain to clean itself from the energy that consumed between the time you woke up and the nap. But at the same time, you also decompress the brain from all the thoughts and the anxiety that you have probably before a match.
yeah. No, that's something that's really common is the NBA game day nap. I know I'm a big napper every game day. It's part of my routine, and I'd say probably at least more than half the people on the team would take a nap on a game day.
Yeah,
So,
super valuable.
yeah. One of the interesting things you guys just emailed out was like a percentage ranking almost of where you are for your age and gender. Um, can you tell us some interesting things that you guys found with that?
Yeah, so I'm in the top 6%,
You're
and I
better than
try to
me
pay a
then.
lot. Yeah, but we have two team members that are in the top 1%.
Wow.
And I mean, they are insane. Their sleep quality, so obviously they're super consistent. They always sleep between 8 hours and 8.5. They almost don't toss and turns, so their sleep efficiency is insane.
Really?
And one of them is also a triathlon athlete outside working for Eight Sleep, and I mean he's a machine. His performance, because his sleep is so good, is so great, and he keeps improving and challenging himself to the next level. So that
Really?
was
So
shocking.
so he doesn't toss and turn at the night in the night hardly at all.
Yeah. There are people, so for example, I toss and turn something like between 30 and 40 times. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm really nervous. Most of the people are probably more in the 20s. Some of these people are in 5 or below 5. And so their sleep efficiencies, they're really stable, and the quality of their sleep is insanely good.
Yeah.
Plus, they put the effort, they're really intentional. So they go to bed at the same time, they wake up at the same time. And so they really train their body like an athlete to sleep at the maximum efficiency.
Yeah. What about like a bedtime routine? Do you have either with electronics or certain sequence of events that you do personally or that you've seen people do successfully?
Yeah. So couple of different things, and then everyone needs to test them. So first, I really like to do a cold and hot shower.
Yeah.
This usually a couple of hours before going to bed. So really, really cold for a minute, really warm for a minute, and you keep doing that for 5 to 10 times. Eat between 3 and 4 hours before, if you can.
Yeah.
An hour before, I have Philips Hue at home. And so since actually 2 hours before, they start dimming to orange and they start reducing the amount of light. And around 9:15, I think my house becomes dark. And so even if I'm there, everything is substantially dark. I use magnesium before going to bed, around an hour before. It helps the muscles to relax.
Yeah.
Sometimes, few times I use melatonin. I don't want to use it too often, but I still see the benefits from that. I cool my bedroom as cold as possible. I have all my temperature settings on my 8 Sleep pod. I use a lavender spray that I really love, and I spray it over the pillow.
Yeah.
Because you start creating an emotional connection with relax and that smell. And so when I hear that, then I know that it's the time to decompress. And you should stop, looking at your phone 30 minutes, an hour before. I still use the Kindle, so usually I read.
Yeah.
I have seen, so I always read about business or stuff. A lot of people tend to read fiction. That helps because it does not let your mind race.
Yeah.
So fiction would be probably a better thing to read, but everyone reads what they like.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I've used the lavender before, and I need to order some more of that and put that into the routine. Thanks for.
No, sorry. There is another thing I do, and
Yeah.
probably you should try it too if you didn't. I use Normatec, the boots.
Yeah.
To really compress my legs. I usually do when I start reading with the Kindle.
Yeah.
Let's say an hour before going to bed. And so there are these boots for the audience that they compress your legs and they help with recovery.
Yeah.
And so I use those before going to bed because I have restless legs otherwise.
Yeah, no, I know the Normatechs are really popular with different NBA players and recovery, and even some use it pre-game as well as post-game. Where can people go to learn more about 8 Sleep or just sleep habits in general?
Yeah, go to 8sleep.com is our website. From there, you can also have access to our blog. So it's 8, like the number 8, just in letter, EIGHT sleep.com. And there you can see the products, you can see the pod, and you can also follow me on Twitter. I tweet quite a lot about sleep, longevity, performance, and recovery, which is what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And so there you can see, I tend to read a lot of clinical stuff, clinical and medical stuff. So when I talk about something, hopefully there is always some medical or scientific background and foundation.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And yeah, definitely recommend following you on Twitter. You got a lot of great info on there. Thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate it, and excited to see what you do over the next 5 to 10 years, becoming the Tesla of sleep.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks. Hey everyone, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Matthew Deli. And while you're there, like this video, leave a comment, and check out the Deli Podcast playlist for more episodes. You can also check out my podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google Play. Thanks for tuning in.